Self-awareness is the ability to see yourself clearly and objectively through reflection and introspection. So basically, understanding and knowing yourself in a realistic manner. Self-awareness is the foundation for real self-growth. Understanding your strengths and weaknesses will help you make better decisions. Decisions that are best for you. Decisions that revolve around these strengths and weaknesses, which leads to success. Your self-growth will come from knowing your weaknesses. Not everyone has the courage to face their soul, let alone be comfortable with it. Self-awareness gives you the power to accept who and what you are, and knowing who and what you are will lead to confidence, the ability to understand multiple perspectives, and most importantly, self-control. I think it's no secret that the world is becoming more narcissistic. A study from Psychology Today found that more than 10% of people in their 20s suffer from subclinical narcissism. Another study by psychologist Tasha Eurich found that only 10 to 15% of people are actually self-aware, and 95% of people think they're self-aware. The reasons behind the death of self-awareness are up for discussion, but what's the result of this death? Nowadays, a lot of people are taught to believe that they're special, that they can do anything, and that the sky is the limit. And this has created main character syndrome. Main character syndrome is when a person feels like they are unique or special. Main character syndrome stems from a need to feel more important, like you're the center of attention. And the benefit of main character syndrome is that there are many people who achieve great things through this lack of self-awareness. A perfect example of this is Doja Cat. Now, I'm not saying that she's not talented, but let's not pretend that her breakout hit wasn't a song about her being a cow with 2 french fries up her nose. This song drove her to stardom and kickstarted her career, and now she's one of the biggest pop stars in the world. Another great example is Jake Paul. Jake Paul had no boxing experience, and boxing is one of the hardest, toughest sports that takes years to master because every detail is important. Tyson Fury started at 10, Muhammad Ali at 12, Floyd Mayweather at 7. But Jake Paul thought fuck it, and he's actually doing alright. The depth of self-awareness has given people the confidence to try things they should be nowhere near. KSI to music, The Rock to acting, Olivia Rodrigo to music, and not to mention all the people who gained stardom by doing dumb things on social media. The depth of self-awareness has allowed people to really believe that they could do anything. What happens when people actually believe they're special? Entitlement. I think it's safe to assume that there's a lot of people who don't understand how the world works. You're not owed anything. A 2016 research has discovered that large amounts of young people are developing an entitlement complex. And you see this a lot, especially on Twitter. A platform where majority of people believe they're entitled to opinions, no matter how absurd their opinions are. Like, remember there was a time when people were very angry that Jeff Bezos spent millions to go to space when he has the power to end world hunger, even though it's his money? Why do people feel entitled to his money? Why do people feel entitled to tell him what to do with his money? This entitlement has led to a more sensitive world, which has created things like cancel culture. I don't even want to speak about this, but it's gotten to a point where even comedians are being censored. A person you shouldn't take seriously because they literally make jokes.
There is no such thing as an appropriate joke. That's why it's a joke.
You know what else this entitlement leads to? A lack of accountability. And a perfect example of this is the All Lives Matter movement. I don't have to say too much about that. And this entitlement is a problem. This entitlement is costly. Costly to companies, costly to careers, and costly to you, your freedom of speech. And why? Because some people have this idea that the world has to adjust based on them. And a great example of this is the transgender community. Some members of this community believe they're entitled to their own bathrooms, genderless awards, competing in female and male sports, even though there's a clear advantage and disadvantage. And the question here is, why? Why should the world have to adjust for a choice that you made? And I've seen the debate online.
How come disabled people have their own facilities?
I don't know, maybe because being disabled isn't a choice. Some members of the plus size community believe that if you don't find a plus size person attractive, that somehow makes you fatphobic. Like how narcissistic can you be? Again, why should the world have to adjust based on you? What happens when you realize that maybe you're not as special as you think? Maybe you're not the main character. What happens when you realize that you're not going to be a billionaire or a movie star or live a Cinderella-like fairy tale? If we're living in the safest times, then why is mental illness and general sadness at an all-time high? In my opinion, it's because of the death of self-awareness. And obviously this isn't the sole reason, but I do think many people believe that every action has some grand story behind it. Like people believing in stars or believing that they're higher chosen spiritual beings or whatever. And in my opinion, this isn't the case. Not every action has some grand story behind it. Life isn't as glorious as the movies. I do think many people struggle with the fact that they are ordinary.